Okay, everybody, thank you for joining me on Autism Live chat show. My name's Kevin Healy, Autism campaigner. And earlier on this evening, I was speaking to Bethany's father and did an exclusive interview with him, 30 minutes on the phone. And it was just absolutely heartbreaking to hear a story. He was going to come on this evening, but he's had such an exhausting day. He's been on BBC Breakfast early this morning. Then he was on ITV Central News early today. And he's just absolutely exhausted, but he took his time to speak to me on the phone, and I'll be playing his interview live to you all just later on in the show this evening. But now I'm joined by Cassandra. Thank you, Cassandra, for joining me.
You're welcome.
Just tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do with PDA.
So I am one of the campaign leads for PDA Action. To run a big national petition, which obtained over 11,000 signatures. And the petition was to get PDA more widely recognised amongst healthcare professionals. So that's the main thing I do in a voluntary capacity. And I also run some other Facebook groups as well for PDA parents, practitioners and PDAs themselves. And I also have a son who's age 11, who is diagnosed with autism and a PDA profile, and 2 other children on the spectrum as well.
So with the story, what you've heard out today, and obviously you've heard the story before, what is your thoughts on this?
Well, it's obviously shocking and sad to hear about Bethany's case. That's the first reaction I had, which was just how awful it really is. However, my secondary thought was that actually it doesn't surprise me at all, because it's one of the main motivating factors for why PDA Action decided to do what it did, because there's just not enough. Certainly for myself personally, I have a fear of kind of seeking help from mental health services, and it hinders me all the time with my son. I'm constantly trying to balance his well-being with, contact with services that may not understand him. So that was my secondary, thought really. And I felt a lot of empathy as well for Jeremy and Beth and her whole family really around the issue.
So Cassandra, people who are watching this now who probably don't know what PDA is, just tell us what PDA is and how it manifests itself.
So PDA is a condition that exists as part of the autism spectrum, and it's categorised by extreme anxiety and a need to feel in control and the need to avoid daily requests and demands to an extreme degree. And actually it's a real challenge for the individuals living with that condition, and I certainly know it's for my son. Yeah, definitely.
So the story what you've heard today on BBC Breakfast, you probably watched it, and the horrific interview what Jeremy gave me early this evening, the amount of stress and anxiety it's causing the family. What do you think should be happening for Bethany now?
Well, I can't really comment on her individual case, but I certainly don't like to think of somebody with autism and her condition, or anyone being in her circumstances, in a seclusion cell and for such a long period of time, and from the age of 15. I really think that every effort should be made to remove her from that environment as soon as possible. And then it's about her specific care needs, providing for those in the best environment for her. But I really don't feel that seclusion cell is it. That's my personal feeling. I can only see that hampering and exacerbating the symptoms of PDA, generally speaking, really.
Sorry, you can just give us that last part.
Yeah, I can only see being in a seclusion cell for somebody with PDA as hampering their condition. It's only going to make it worse. They've got everything taken away from them. They've got no control. They're being restricted all the time. I just can't imagine the level of anxiety that is provoking in Bethany on a daily basis. And it's just not acceptable, not appropriate, and in my mind, unsuitable.
So what we hear today is that, and a father was talking to me tonight, that when he goes to visit her, she's been seen through a hatch. Now, this is like treating somebody like as though they're living in a prison cell. We wouldn't do this to an animal. So why do you think the government are doing this? Do you think that there's not enough resources out there, or do you think simply the system is not geared up?
personally, what I'm living with PDA myself, I know what it's like to not understand that for many years, and I do understand the level of challenging behaviour that can occur and the extreme panic attacks that happen for people with PDA, and particularly children who are not understood can be aggressive. So my perception of what's happened is that that's what's happened to Bethany. You know, she's ended up in a situation where people haven't understood her needs. They've tried to implement the wrong strategies for her, not the appropriate ones, and that has escalated her anxiety and therefore made her behaviour more challenging. And nobody has understood why, because they think they, or assume they're doing the right thing. But actually, what you realise when you live with PDA is that you have to make very individualised adaptations for that person. They need to be flexible and change sometimes day to day. And you do need to kind of really think about their anxiety and understand that and address it all the time. It's a big factor. And that's my perception, that environment has exacerbated it really, and that's why it would have escalated. It would have for my son if he was in that. I can't imagine how he would be. He just wouldn't cope. It would escalate his challenging behaviour to an unmanageable degree. So
she's Bethany's obviously been detained under the Mental Health Act because she has done some self-harming because of her anxieties and how anxious she is. Do you think the government should be putting her in a placement where she can, be able to live independently and get the right support and provision in place rather than being put in like a cell-like environment?
I think the way I would describe it is that I was describing it on Twitter earlier today. It's like being treated like well, you wouldn't treat a caged animal like that. It's absolutely inhumane in my mind to do that to a person, any person. But it certainly isn't going to provide the best outcomes for somebody with PDA. And there should be no reason why Bethany cannot access all the normal things that anybody would in daily life. She has a right to have a life, doesn't she, and a quality of life. And there's no reason why she can't have that with the right adaptations, and they need to be specific to her, and they need to address her PDA. That it's as simple as that. And with that, she should be able to shine and achieve what she wants to achieve and participate in life like everybody else with the right support. But from what I've read today online, that just has not happened. I heard Jeremy say himself that the wrong support has been given to Bethany, and that's why she's ended up in this scenario. So put it right, and there's no reason why Bethany shouldn't, quality of life shouldn't improve, her mental health shouldn't improve, and she can have, reach her ambitions and goals in life, is there? So.
Yeah, well, I've just had a message in from MP Norman Lamb, who said he's unable to join us tonight in this discussion, but he will catch up with me soon to discuss this, because I know Norman has a lot of thoughts around this, and he campaigns quite a lot on autism issues, and he feels very strong about it, but sadly he's unable to join us tonight. However, later on in the show, I'll be showing the interview with earlier on, which I spoke to Bethany's father. Chris has just mentioned the Tory cuts to mental health service hasn't out. So that's one comment we've had in. If you are watching this video now on social media, please do share it and get it out there, because we need as much awareness on this as possible. Thank you so much for taking your time tonight, Cassandra, coming on and joining us live tonight. I really appreciate it. Thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure to have you on, and thank you for sharing your thoughts with me. Thank you.
My pleasure, Kevin. Thanks very much. Thank you.
Thank you. So that was Cassandra joining me. We are going to take another call just shortly from Alison Fisher and her friend, and she'll be talking about their thoughts on it. Later on in the show, in a few more minutes, I'm going to be playing the interview which I spoke to Bethany's father earlier on, and I'll just get that up in 2 seconds. So I'm now joined by Alison. Hello, Alison.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us. We just heard from Cassandra there. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourselves and how you think about this dreadful story which has gone in the media today?
Yeah, so I am a PDA action lead as well. So you've just interviewed my colleague Cassandra Davis. I'm also a parent of a child with pathological demand avoidance, and
Are you still there?
yes, sorry, we've just got a bit of echo going on. So basically, my daughter's diagnosed with pathological demand avoidance, and I understand obviously the battle that it is to get a diagnosis. But basically, the thoughts on Jeremy in the case, it's very local to me. He's in the same area as myself. So obviously it's something very close to my heart that I've been following. And in regards to Beth and her
Sorry, I think we've lost your sound there. Can you just say that a little bit
yes,
last bit again, please?
sorry, we've got a repeat coming back on us, so I can hear everything I'm
Oh,
saying
right.
again.
Yeah, it'll cancel it out this end, so don't worry about that.
Yeah, no. So basically, from my perspective, following Bethany's story has been harrowing to think that not only we could have individuals with autism, individuals with mental health, or PDA being put into these positions is not good at all. But from the lack of when is going on out in the UK, there's work that needs to be done.
So what do you think about the story, what you've heard in the news today on the BBC about Bethany?
Yeah, so listening to Jeremy's story, obviously it runs familiar with any parent of a PDA child. You understand that there is a need to parent completely different, but you also understand that any professionals who come into contact with you do actually need to take different approaches. And it's really important to understand that not all children with PDA will be challenging. Some will actually withdraw, some will become more challenging. But it is about the complete support and the package that needs to be provided.
And your friend sitting next to you, what connection does she have with PDA?
Sorry, we're just having a little bit of technical difficulties, Tracy. With she did. Yeah, so what connection do you have with PDA?
Hiya. I've got. Okay. I've got two boys with one diagnosed with PDA. He's 10, and I've got a 16-year-old who has now been in the care system since he was 9 years old, diagnosed.
Okay, so what's your thoughts on today's interview with Jeremy?
Sadness. You can just feel. I'm still going through with my oldest son. He's been dragged through the care system. We've been dragged through it as a family, and it's destroyed. It's destroyed us. It's destroyed him. He doesn't understand what's going on. Doesn't understand what he's done wrong. But he hasn't done anything wrong. You know, it's the failure in the system, the understanding. No understanding for this condition.
So you two as parents, what do you think should be happening to Bethany now? Where should she be?
It's the ideally, she would be with her family. That's where our kids need to be.
So why do you think the government's not doing enough to help parent like Jeremy?
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
I was saying, why do you think the government's not
Really
doing enough to help?
can't comment. Yeah, so we can't obviously comment directly on Bethany's case because we don't know lots of information about it. But I think it's really important that the government have that intervention now. We've heard that the Secretary of State for Health is going to do an investigation into it. But also, it's really important that from a PDA action perspective, that the Department of Health needs to follow through on what they've pledged in terms of PDA. And that we start to get that awareness out there and that understanding of how to manage PDA. I definitely think that the transition for Bethany to go back towards the family will be a long time milestone, but definitely reintegrating in the community, having those right staff and having people around her that can understand and manage her condition.
We're getting some feedback this end. I'm not sure what's happening, but we're getting quite a lot of feedback. So I'm going to end the interview now, but we'll have you back on next month because we've got Libby Hill coming on who's going to be talking about PDA and some other guests. So we'd love to have you back on next month. Probably maybe next time if you have some headphones on.
Yes, sorry.
He'll cut the echo out. I'm getting a lot of feedback.
Yeah, no.
But thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So that was Alison Fisher who's joining me now. And apologies there for the feedback. But now I'm going to play the interview which I spoke to Bethany's father early on this evening. So I'm just going to put that interview on now. And I was talking to Bethany's father earlier on, and this is the interview. So I'm joined by Jeremy on the phone now, and Jeremy, I know you've had a long, exhausting day today. Tell me what's happened today.
Today, at 8 o'clock, I was in BBC TV Centre, sitting on the big red couch, talking to Nagger and Charlie about Beth and the horrendous situation that she's in at Andrews Hospital. So
if people don't know about Bethany's story, just tell us right from the start what happened and, you know, what happened to Bethany so many years ago and where she is now.
Okay. Bethany has always been a challenge. We became aware that when she was a toddler that she was different than her older brother. He's 2 years older. Bethany seemed to struggle socialising with other children. We took her to more and more different toddler groups to try and enhance that socialising. She would see a child with a toy and she would just either punch or push that child off that toy and take it. When she entered nursery school, she was obviously struggling with being told to do things by teachers, and she would just refuse. She'd lie on the floor, tantrums, and again there was a lot of aggression. We used to dread picking Beth up at the end of the day because we had to run the gauntlet of the playground mafia, where parents would be waiting to show us what Beth had done to their children during that day. Beth then goes and falls under the SEN provision at school. They quickly admit that they're struggling. Social workers become involved, and there was no help offered. There was just masses of criticism. It was, oh, this is all down to poor parenting. You know, you're not putting any boundaries in place.
And that's what a lot of the so-called professionals do at the moment. They call it the triple P, where they say, you know, it's all about parenting, and you know, let's blame the parents.
We had to do triple P 3 times.
Unbelievable.
3 times we did that. We could write the book on Super Nanny. We read all of her books. We watched all the TV programs. To be fair, our oldest son, he's 21 now. He's a model. The only 4-letter word he has ever used is gosh. but it just didn't work with Bethany.
So from early childhood, then she went into her teenage years. What was the next step from that?
There was a little step before that's where she entered EBD school. Emotional behavioural difficulty was the label that was applied. It seemed to be just an enhancement of your crap parents. All that did was expose Beth to, I'll use the word damaged, because it was damaged children. A lot of the kids that she was there with, children that had witnessed abuse, from what we were told, that had been abused. All that did was equip Beth with a toolbox of swear words and different ways of hurting people. And then teenage years, moved to a school in Derbyshire, and we had quite a calm 2 years there, where some of the staff were very, very good. And although we were still being refused the diagnosis of PDA, because that was the point we came across PDA. And when we read that description, it was like, oh my God, they're describing Beth. 100%. We ticked every box on their checklist. And we took that to the CAMS psychologist, and she just went, no, doesn't exist, don't recognise it. And atypical autism stayed on the diagnosis. At that school, as I say, they were doing well with Beth. It was a nice environment. There wasn't too many children. The staffing ratio was quite high. That placement collapsed when Beth's key worker moved on. The key worker was the one who really got Beth and understood the techniques and had listened to us about PDA, and she was reinforcing that through the team. When she moved on, that support sadly ended for Beth. So again, a very quick succession of very hastily planned, reactive placements. Beth's got through 17 in total now.
17 is, that's just, it's just absolutely unbelievable. 17 placements. It's just, you couldn't even write it in a book, could you?
No, and the damaging part of that is that she's been out for tender, like a contract to different providers. My understanding is that Beth's details are entered onto a form somewhere that's uploaded to some sort of system that goes, we need a placement for this child. Placements look at that and then they will enter a bid. So it's like being auctioned on eBay almost. Unfortunately, Beth became recognisable through the descriptions on that document, and nobody would touch it. So the list of available placements just shrunk and shrunk and shrunk.
So now at the moment, currently, she resides at St Andrews in Nottingham?
Yes.
And what's it been like for you as a family when you go and visit her? Just to explain to the viewers and people who are listening now what the experience is like when you go to visit.
I can only use horrific. If you've seen the film Silence of the Lambs, the Dr. Hannibal Lecter story, there's the scene where Agent Clarice Starling walks down that corridor, and at the end of the corridor is Dr. Lecter in that glass-fronted room. That's what the walk down to Bethany feels like to me.
It's just awful.
I walk past the ward where the other girls are, and I go into a corridor and through lots of locked doors. They're opened and banged shut behind you, and then I turn and there's the door behind which Bethany sits.
So would you describe, correct me if I'm wrong, would you just describe it as, obviously we know it's a psychiatric hospital, but would you describe it as a hospital or as a prison?
It's a prison.
So,
At the hospital, you can get up and leave. You can discharge yourself. The prison, you can't do that. It's why I will not call Bethany's place of residence a seclusion room, a room you can walk in and out of. Bethany is in a cell.
So she doesn't have anything in there like TV or anything she can interact or keep herself occupied. She's just in I guess, a room which is very basic and nothing in there apart from a bed.
There is a bed. It's not a bed like you and I sleep on. It's a foam-covered chunk of mattress. She has a chair that's the same. It's just L-shaped, covered in plastic. She has scraps of paper and wax crayons that she can use. She has colouring books. She likes to read. So reading books are good, but she's got a very limited attention span, and obviously she will only read in chunks because she then goes away and digests and sort of reflects on what she's read. But no, she does so little.
So what are the staff doing with her on a day-to-day basis?
They will. It depends on the staff. It really does depend on the staff. Some staff will just sit outside the door and look. They don't look at Beth, they look at the CCTV monitor above her head. Other staff will interact with Beth. They will do role-playing, because Beth loves fantasy. Again, key part of PDA. So she likes to act as if she's in the circus, or acts as if she's... she does a lot of stuff that's around aliens and being an alien. She's actually started now to talk to imaginary alien friends. Some staff will do yoga with her. Some staff will do music and song with her. So some staff do interact, but it's not a constant. And Beth struggles of an evening. That's a massive area where it all goes wrong for her. Evenings have always been that time of the day where you come in from school or you come in from activities and then it's downtime, and Beth has lost that focus, so she starts to get a bit anxious and fractious. And in St Andrews, evenings are filled with agency staff. The usual day carers that she's used to, they finish at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. Different people come in every day and care for Beth. That creates so much anxiety for a child who needs to be in an environment where there's a core team of staff.
Jeremy, do you think that the government and professionals don't really, how can I put this, understand, or do you think the system's simply not geared up for helping people like Bethany and so many others out there?
The system is in no way geared up in a couple of ways. Firstly, the funding. At the moment, social services in Walsall, they're quite happy because they're not paying for Beth. In a previous LAC meeting at the end of it, the IRO officer, and I must stress it's not the present one, but a previous IRO held me and my ex-wife back and said, and this was just before Beth went into St Andrews, he said, frankly, Mr. and Mrs. Harris, I'll tell you this, and it's off the record, but to be frank, Walsall are going to be pleased of the break. Your daughter has cost us in excess of £1.2 million.
Yes, and that was highlighted in the debate today in Parliament, wasn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So sorry, go on, sorry.
You're in the situation where Walsall aren't paying anything. St Andrews, they are earning in excess of £13,000 a week from Beth alone. That's actually going up as from next week. I'll come on to that shortly. So £660,000 a year. Where is their incentive to move Bethany on? They're a private business. The NHS, they're not. This is the second part. NHS aren't fulfilling the obligation agreed under the transferring care.
So
it's all about handing that responsibility back to councils, because actually it's cheaper for the council to do it.
So in an ideal, well, let's put in an ideal world, if this was an ever ideal world, what would you like to see for Bethany? Would you like to see her in her own home, where she's got her own care support, her own staff, where she can go out and enjoy life like many other people who are on the autistic spectrum?
Absolutely, we would love Beth to be back in the home environment. I think the factors involved in that, from what we're being told, rather than what we want, but we're being told that that is not a possibility because the house isn't big enough to have somewhere where the amount of staff required for Beth would be able to live on site. So what...
But then again, they do. I've heard other stories throughout the UK where people have been in ATUs and somehow the NHS have gone out and funded, or built certain houses so they can have support staff coming in. So why do it for one person, not for another person?
Absolutely.
So we shouldn't point star badges on different people saying that this person deserves better treatment than others. Every person with autism or PDA or any other mental health condition, everybody should get the same health, equality of health, and have the right support throughout their life. And
we have come so close to achieving something similar on one occasion. I'll quickly talk about two other occasions. One was during the time Beth's been in the St Andrews. A placement was sought at Alderwood Care in Northampton. They came out and they assessed Bethany.
Was this through a personal health budget?
Is this what? Sorry,
was that through a personal health budget? Through the NHS?
I have no idea. We weren't involved in any funding discussions. All we were told was, brilliant, we've got a potential placement. Alderwood Care are coming out to assess Beth. But this would be back coming under social services funding that placement. Mm-hmm. So they came out, they assessed Beth. On that very same day, Walsall decided to cancel that assessment, because what they wanted instead was for Beth to move into a medium secure setting. Mm-hmm. They were saying that there is nowhere that will cope with Beth, she must go to medium secure. So they cancelled that placement. We spoke as parents to Alderwood afterwards, and Alderwood said we could have fully met her needs. We were devastated. The subsequent assessment for a medium secure unit said there's no way Beth will benefit from medium secure. She needs to be in the community. By that time, we'd lost the bed at Alderwood. Walsall were told to go away and to provide that community placement, and they actually went down the line of creating a bespoke placement. It was a house 3 miles from home, so right on family doorstep. It was going to be staffed with an appropriate team. The alterations were made to the building, the garden. It sounded perfect. Work was being done with Beth to help her cope with her anxiety. We were actually able on 2 occasions to go out and visit the grounds with Beth. We took the family dogs. They really did a massive amount of work, and it paid off. thing you don't tell Bethany is future plans. She can't deal with something in the future. If you tell her there's something down the road in a few weeks, a few months or a year, she wants it now. All that happened was Beth was told, and all she was told was, there's a placement for you, you will be in it by the end of summer. This was January of this year. They were telling us something 6 months away. If I said to you, or any neurotypical person, okay, you're going to be moving house, and that's all I tell you. So I'm not going to tell you where it is in the country. I'm not going to tell you if your family can visit. I'm not going to tell you if you're sharing that house with somebody. I'm not going to tell you if you're going to school. How would that affect? I'll put it in inverted commas because it's not the right phrase to use, but how would that affect a normal person? That would melt their head.
Definitely, and people have, if somebody said that to me, because I'm on the autistic spectrum, as you know, if somebody said that to me, oh, you're going to be moving house, well, I take things very literally. So, I would expect to move, and somebody said, like, Kevin, you can go on holiday tomorrow, then yes, I would expect that, because I take things very literally, and I'm sure Bethany does as well.
Absolutely. But what happened was, because all the previous failures of improperly sourced placements, because that had told Beth, actually, if you kick off and display the worst of your behaviours, you'll move there quicker. And that's what Beth did. She tried her hardest. She used everything in that toolbox that had been filled up in that EBD school. So her aggression went through the roof. Attacks or attempted attacks on staff escalated. The use of language, it was horrible. Beth was utterly fixated. Every phone call, every piece of contact was, what do you know? What's happening? Do you know anymore? When am I moving? She deteriorated, and the placement withdrew their offer 3 weeks before Beth was due to move.
And I think the most horrendous thing I've heard today is when you mentioned on the TV today that she actually stabbed herself with a pen.
Yeah.
And she left that pen embedded in her arm, and it was in there for how many weeks?
6 weeks.
6 weeks.
It went into her forearm and ended up moving round sort of a layer of fat, subcutaneous layer of fat under your skin, and ended up just behind her shoulder.
So where is the duty of care with St Andrews?
They were saying that Beth is too dangerous to take to hospital, that they felt she was too dangerous for anyone to go into the room and attempt to move it, and that she would need to go into hospital and have either a sedative or a general anaesthetic. At this time, Bethany also started to have seizures. This was new. We'd never experienced seizures before.
And did you think that was brought on by the sheer stress and anxiety she was going through?
I don't know. All we know is that we wanted Beth to go to A&E on the day they told us about the seizures. Any parent with a child having seizures would get it looked at. The response we got from St Andrews is, well, we want to take her for an MRI, but she can't have one because she's got a piece of metal under her skin. Yeah. The answer to that is we take the piece of metal out. It stayed in there another 3 weeks. It was only because I had done the wonderful interview with Lucy Adams that went out on Radio 4 that really it opened the can on the abuse that Beth has been going through. And the whole Twitter storm that erupted.
Would it help, Joe?
2 days after that programme went out, the nurse from St Andrews went into Bethany's room, gave her a quick jab of local anaesthetic and whipped it out in seconds.
And, you know, and that could have caused anything. That could have even caused sepsis, or she could have had an infection, or, you know, you know, it's just so shocking that 6 weeks, you know, that was left, and it was just absolutely appalling. Would it help?
If you had an animal that was caged up with a biro sticking out of its leg, what would happen to you?
Well, the animal would probably die, or, you know, you'd probably end up chewing it.
What would happen to you as the person responsible for keeping that animal in that situation?
Well, you'd be accountable for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jeremy, would it help if members of the public sent Bethany a card or some?
I would love that.
Yeah,
Some people have been doing that through Twitter.
Yeah, so people send her a card or a letter.
That would be awesome. Just for Beth to know just how many people have heard her story. What I don't want those sympathy in those cards. I would love just a cheerful hello, thinking about you.
Yeah, just as something as simple as that.
A joke. Put a joke in the card. Make the card as funny as possible.
Oh, so she likes jokes. Does she like slapstick?
She does.
Yeah.
She absolutely loves it. The clowns in the circus. Yeah.
Mr. Bean and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. So do funny things. Say funny things in your cards.
Well, Jeremy, I wish you all the well, and you know, as well, you have my support, you have my backing and my support, and I'll do everything I can to help you with this campaign, because, you know, it is injustice, and, you know, the morality of it is that, you know, the government need to face up, and the care minister need to act now, not act in 2 weeks' time or a month's time. Something needs to be done now for Bethany, because, you know, she's been a prisoner for far too long now.
Yeah. Can I leave you guys that are listening to this with one last thing to leave you with that hopefully will make this stick at the front of your mind?
Sure.
Bethany, because she can't escape her anxiety, because she can't run away or fight, which are her two instincts around PDA. She wants to either flight or fight. She self-harms. We've talked about the biro. The other thing that Beth does is she takes her clothing and she tears it into thin strips and she ties it around her neck as a ligature. What then happens is lots of men go into her room and they pin her to the floor and they take all of her clothes off and they put her in a plastic suit. Just have that as an image in your mind. That will hurt you, I know, but what's that doing to my daughter, my beautiful curly-haired daughter? Thank you.
So that was the interview I did earlier on with Jeremy, and absolutely horrific. Please, if you're watching this video now, please do share it out on social media. I'll be sharing this on Periscope and on Twitter. Absolutely heartbreaking. I spent nearly an hour on the phone tonight with Jeremy. Just absolutely heartbreaking. I'm not a parent, so I can't say what he's going through, and I don't know what he's going through. All I know is that I'm a person living with autism, a campaigner, and I feel very, very strongly about this. Very emotional interview, and please do share this. Thank you to my special guest who came on tonight, Alison and Cassandra. Thank you for joining me. hopefully we'll be talking more next month about PDA. Until then, enjoy the rest of the evening, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.